Thank you for the invitation. A pleasure to be here and to speak to so many people who are actually involved in future development of the internet. Not going to explain the Internet of Things to this audience, but I would like to make one remark on say what the Internet of Things was supposed to become back in 2007, when that's seeing Joao in the front row, when we were working heavily on the first policy documents on that with the Commission, and what has emerged like now. And we see that lots of the Internet of Things is there, but in a slightly different way. What was supposed to happen in back in 2007 was very much a unified architecture using common middleware, like what might come out of the Chiara project that we heard just. And while what we now have is more a system which consists of very different and distinct devices, many of them actually using proprietary protocols to communicate with their respective servers, and of course at the same time all having to communicate to their respective central servers, because only on the inter-server communication at a later stage we find the necessary compatibility at the higher levels. Of course at the lower levels much as IP and the network protocols are eminent, but when we think about presentation and application layers, then there's very little compatibility between the sports shoe that communicates with one specific smartphone and no others, and heart rate monitors that communicate with the wristwatch made by the same manufacturer but not with any other one. So there we have lots of proprietary protocols, and we go in a world where servers collect lots of information. And the information that we collect is actually in many cases of the more sensitive categories. I mentioned the heart rate monitors and many others biometric sensors, so we have plenty of data about health and related matters that is collected. And of course, because also communications devices are part of this network, we have a representation of everybody's social graph. And then most of these devices, when they are connected to the person, and that are the interesting ones, of course, there's plenty of Internet of Things which is not personalized, but I'm only referring to the personalized part here. And then the movements are with the movements of persons, and as data protection authorities have already written and recognized a number of times, and which is not only true for data protection but for those earning revenue by processing data, that the value of each bit information is considerably increased when it is connected to a location. And I should say location in this case means not only the geographical, meaning space parameters, but space and time parameters. So real who was where at what time doing what is the information that can be found in many of the records which are collected and communicated. And the only thing that the record doesn't contain immediately is the information of why, and then, but when you then put together the whole set of such records on one individual for a certain period of time, you may actually also find the answers to the question why when you apply appropriate analytics method. So the elements here are summarizing what I just said. We have in the personalized part of the Internet of Things, we have a collection of data which turns out to be quite sensitive, belonging even to special categories in some cases within the meaning of the legislation. But we already have in the law of the EU at least special protection for location-related data when we think of the respective provisions, for example, in the e-privacy directive, the privacy in electronic communications. we have an architecture issue here that we don't have the possibility to reduce data somewhere in the way, on the way from the sensor to the processing, because we have no layer in the network where concentration, aggregation, and depersonalization could take place in the process. So we get the full set of personal data up into the central servers and then can only apply any depersonalization at a very late stage where it may already have gone through different parties and may have been collected and amassed in different size. And of course, once such an immense collection of data, of personal data is there, and we hear the metaphor that personal data is the new fuel, the new currency, the new oil. I have an issue with these metaphors because my car doesn't run on data. It still will need real fuel for quite a long time. So, but these metaphors just represent the value, the monetary value that can be realized from processing this kind of personal data. So here we have also an incentive not to reduce data once it is collected in a big collection in a central server location. So ways to reduce the data as early as possible in the process are still to be explored. And a last point on this challenges or issues slide is, of course, the security. We heard about that in the first two presentations from the project, and there's a lot of work ongoing in the security world, and the security communities, of course, got a big wake-up call last summer and in the subsequent revelations, where they found that security technologies not always are up to what the expectations were. So we have here just a few illustrations on location data collecting systems, and many of those are indeed able to relate the data to an identifiable individual. So what does this mean for the future internet? And hopefully, what does this challenge mean for FI-PPP? And hopefully FI-PPP is, among others, capable of picking up this challenge. And so privacy and security, because it doesn't work, privacy has some security requirements, but not only, must become design goals for the products and projects and building blocks at all levels. And that starts from the protocols, the operating systems, the hardware design, which incorporates some of the protocols and operating systems and applications already, user interfaces, and other building blocks in applications like libraries, middleware, components. We think that this must be thought from a true real-life perspective. So we shouldn't ask what can we do, what can we add, but we should start analyzing a real-life development task in mind with how can we solve this task with the minimum privacy risks possible. Because then in many cases the answer will be, okay, we don't need these attributes in the first place, so we shouldn't collect them. And that is already a starting point. So things like Chiara or other parts of the project have their merits, but before we think about using Chiara and privacy-friendly technology added on to our solution, we should design the solution so that it doesn't collect personal data that isn't actually strictly necessary for the service. And there we have a long way to go from the way it's done. Now, the attitude of many is, oh, this might come in handy at some later point in time, and I don't really know for what I will use this attribute, but it looks so nice, and let's collect it and then data. Okay, now we are in the situation that we don't do that, that privacy and even security issues are not properly solved in many basic components, and this propagates up to the highest level of the real-life apps and solutions that we use every day. And this is our invitation to those interested in pursuing this issue at the technical level, and it's my last slide. much of it have been said. We are now inviting, on the one hand, privacy experts that understand the technology, and on the other hand, technology experts that understand a bit of privacy, to work together, identify the use cases where privacy respective solutions are needed to be found, and then systematize, collect information about other existing initiatives, or when I say here IAB, that is the Internet Architecture Board, not to be mixed up with other organizations using the same acronyms. And so there are some projects where we try to build a bridge between them, but we also want to foster the creation of new groups. And I could imagine that in the spectrum of FI-PPP, there is interested groups and space for this work. My last slide has contacts of the EDPS, and everybody who wants to join is more than welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.